Hello, and welcome to Mom and Dad Magic Box, the show where we bring together all our stakeholders in our children's education. I'm Isaac Carmignani. We begin with this week's headlines. Chancellor Carmen Farina, AmeriCorps Director Bill Basile, and New York City Chief Service Officer Paula Gavin announced recently that AmeriCorps will significantly increase its presence in New York City public schools through a large investment of Operation AmeriCorps funding from the Corporation for National and Community Service. The federal agency's two-year investment of up to $5.8 million, including college scholarships for AmeriCorps members, will support more than 300 AmeriCorps members working to reduce absenteeism, increase parental involvement, and ensure students are on track to graduate in 128 community schools. The funding is being awarded to NYC Service, an office of the mayor partnering with the New York City Department of Education to manage the program. New York City is the first city in the nation to receive this funding. Chancellor Farina announced an expansion of the Autism Spectrum Disorder NEST and Horizon programs. NEST and Horizon are cutting-edge programs designed to provide individualized supports and services to students on the autism spectrum. The programs help students with autism strengthen interpersonal skills and succeed in the classroom. As a superintendent in 2003, the chancellor was a member of the team that helped develop the original NEST program at PS 32 in Brooklyn. NEST was developed and is supported in collaboration with New York University. It is an integrated co-teaching, or ICT, program for students with autism. ICT classrooms include students with and without disabilities and are led by two teachers, a general education teacher and a special education teacher. The classes are smaller than traditional ICT classes, allowing teachers to offer more tailored support and use a specialized curriculum. Both teachers must also participate in ongoing professional trainings throughout the year. The Horizon program was developed in collaboration with the New England Center for Children and provides small classes for students with autism who have greater social and academic needs. Students in Horizon classes are taught through another specialized curriculum based on the principles of applied behavior analysis, addressing their academic and social needs. Along with the specialized curriculum, students in Horizon programs receive speech and language therapy to support their communication skills. More about these programs can be found at the websites on your screen. Chancellor Farina announced new initiatives to strengthen career and technical education, or CTE, and STEM instruction across the city. GE Foundation funding will support an innovative CTE pilot program designed to strengthen teaching and learning practices at 10 schools, as well as STEM training for up to 200 schools through brand new multi-day STEM institutes. 100 schools will attend the first STEM Institute this spring, including 6 renewal schools. Schools participating in this pilot will work with higher education and industry partners. And now to our interview with Jim Grant, life and relationship coach working in our public schools. So we're here with Jimmy Grant, life and family relationship coach who does a lot of work with young people in New York City and Long Island. So it's great to have you with us today, Jimmy.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
How does your work, tell us a little bit about that, what you do, how that relates to children and families.
Well, I've worked with children and adults, over the last 15 years or so, and I just really give them an opportunity to find out what they want in life and find out what's in between, the parent and a child, and individually in terms of the parent, what they're going through, and individually what the children are going through, and to just put them together to create an environment of openness and trust that they can start hearing each other from a different perspective.
So you're coming into the
family when maybe there are some issues that are coming up, either with the student in school or parent-child?
It really covers a lot. I don't go in with really, a isolated agenda. It's really a lot of common issues in families is communication, and either lack of communication or just not hearing each other, and arguments and all that. So I really go into it with again, what's going on with you, what's going on with you. Let's talk about it, and then listen to them to see what comes out from that, and then take it from there.
Right. And you were telling me you work with the BOCES out in Long Island as well.
Yeah, I'm currently doing that, and that's just for me. I like I said, I've always loved working with kids and just being connected with kids, and that's something that I'm doing now while I'm also building my business.
So how do you connect with these young people? You were saying it could be some that are maybe socially awkward or having some difficulties getting along, or how do you reach?
I'm sometimes I come off as rough and gruff, but I'm actually a kid at heart, and I know and I'm around a lot of kids. I have a big family, so I understand children, and I know where they're coming from, and I also know what they're capable of, and actually what they struggle with, especially these days. So I really provide them with an open space to express themselves.
Right. So, what are some of the things that you find are important in order to help a child who's not doing well to get back on track?
And I don't think it's necessarily just with not doing well. It's just really just the common day-to-day struggles that they have with other kids, within themselves, and then mainly within the family. And that's where, like I said, my focus has come to is really healing the family, whether it's something severe or serious, or even if it's, like I say, just like, how was your day? How was school? I know how I was a kid. I didn't want to hear that. Just leave me alone. It was fine, and then go to my room. So to really be able to alter that dynamic, that seems to be very common.
Yeah. So you mentioned healing the family. So this is a little bit of a holistic thing. It's not just a matter of the kid is not doing well in his grades or something like that, and just leaving it there. That this goes far beyond and far deeper into parent-child communication.
Yes. My skills are mainly about being able to listen and to sense what's going on, even what's not being said, and also knowing that the child is struggling with their own self-image, bullying, anything that goes on, peer pressure, but also knowing that the adults are struggling with things too, whether it's just from trying to make ends meet, trying to deal with the pressures of their life, and then also maybe even some certain things that they haven't dealt with over the years.
So do you find then that it's a far better approach for a parent to be in this with the child rather than being up here and
yes, absolutely, and that's the big part of what my work is. It's bridging the gap with the communication and the understanding. So the child can know that their parent is with them, and hears them and understands them, and has compassion for them, and that also opens up, it coming from the other side. Where parents want to be heard. They want to be respected. They want to know that their child is listening to them, and that the parent really loves them and cares about them. But sometimes parents don't do the best job in terms of how they express that.
Right. Do you find that there are other things, like I know we were talking off camera about structure and consistency in the home and the family that eats together. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, like I said, my background with alcohol and drug counseling with kids, the agency was big on discipline and structure, and a lot of what came up through the children about their childhood, and not that it was, always the parents' fault that the kids ended up taking the turn that they did, but there wasn't structure, there wasn't discipline, there wasn't meals and dinner at the same time and family time and connection and and today with today's world, both parents working, parents come home to an empty house, so it's tough, but to be able to provide some sort of consistency within the house, and curfews and bedtime and all that stuff matters.
Have you ever had conversations or issues with your kids with regard to the technology? Today's screens and DSs and phones and stuff, and kids just want to be on that. It seems like all kinds of times. I mean, how do you?
Yeah, I know. And again, it's times are changing and all of that, and that even with adults, with with the iPhones and texting and all that gets in the way of our relationships too and connecting. So someone in the family needs to be able to provide connection and keep the connection going. And if it's not there, or if it's swaying away, to keep it. And there's a lot of different ways that that you can have connection within family. But some people need support with that.
Yeah. What are some of the supports that you give? I mean, a parent. What if you have a parent that finds they're just not connecting with their child? I mean, what do you do with that?
Well, I provide workshops, so where the parents and the children are connected together and going through a process, the same process, and then different things come up, through different exercises and different conversations. And then I also work with each of them separately, so the parent separately and the child separately. And again, really just getting their point of view, their perspective, what they're experiencing, and then coming back together, to again, there's something to be said if I understand you and hear you, and then maybe someone from the outside stepping in and guiding you and offering you a trusting space, and then to not even realize, well, I didn't know you felt that way, I didn't know you thought that way, or anything like that. And that can come from both parent and child. Right.
Having that third party can be very, very helpful.
Yeah, it's like there's if there's a dynamic in a family and it's already created and a lot of conflict and a lot of miscommunication or communication breakdown, it's about reacting back and forth.
Right.
Wanting control. So everybody needs to have some neutral party to keep it in line.
Right, and when there's a lot of emotion, people can be reacting to past things that have been said and talking past one another. Really,
yeah,
really.
And whether it's the parent or the child, I think wanting to be right. As soon as that happens, then you're not hearing the other person, and then there's a lot that can be lost in terms of what can be created.
Do you find in your work that you're dealing with children that maybe are dealing with some very, very difficult challenges like homelessness or even gangs, or do you get into that?
Well, through my background, like I said, over the last 15, 20 years, there's been I've seen a lot and experienced a lot, and I remember when I first started working as a counselor, I was kind of middle class family myself and didn't see much and in terms of any horror stories, but I was really taken aback of just what some of these kids go through, whether it's abuse of different kinds, or again just different things that they go through, and today again with the pressures and gangs and drugs, and a lot of us we want to deny or not admit that it's around or it's close by, but it's all around.
If my child comes home and I ask him how was his day and he says it was okay, and he keeps telling me that, is that good enough? Or do I need to be not necessarily thinking that there's a problem, but just looking to get more from him
Well,
or her?
yeah, that's the communication piece. So is to continue to ask, and maybe in different ways, because I know when I tried to give the short answer when I was growing up, it was like I got a reaction. I got anger from my mother and father, But meanwhile, I was a moody, self-conscious, scared kid a lot of the times. So to well, what do you mean okay? What was okay? And even in my coaching, it's about open-ended questions. So it's not like, it's not like yes or no questions, because then where do you go from there? So not that you're going to be, as a parent, that restrictive in the way that you talk to them, but to, like I was saying, we talked earlier, kids aren't going to say discipline me. Kids aren't going to say ground me. But inside, most kids, they want discipline. They want structure. They want to know that, you got their back and you're going to take care of them. And when it's not there, when that discipline is not there, all of a sudden the kid starts to question and then not trust their parents.
Does it send a message, or maybe the way I could frame this in a positive way is when a parent is involved, is asking those questions that maybe annoy the child a little bit because they don't want to give specifics, but does it also send a message that they're cared for, that you're loved, that somebody is there for them?
I think, it could be different. Like even, I didn't realize some of my parents' stuff until years later. So sometimes it might not work in the moment, but yes, there's that consistent staying in your child's life, trying to keep the conversation going. And sometimes, yes, you're gonna annoy the kid, and that's where my work with the adult, with the parent, comes in too, because different issues and different fears and different limitations that the parent has plays out in everything that we're talking about. So they're going through their own stuff. They're trying to be a good parent, but then they also have their own things that keep them from being able to be patient enough to stick in there, to hang in there. And then they don't. And then if they think that their kid doesn't like them or love them, then they go through their own thing, and then they give up. So, and then the worst thing that can happen is that happening on both sides.
Do you find that sometimes parents look for approval from their children?
Sure, because it's easier. We used to get that with different counselors. They would be softer or be easier on the kid or give them what they wanted, and sure, parents, and that's the thing is we also talked about that earlier too. Adults went through their own struggles, their own journey, their own path in life that ended up where they ended up. And then they become a parent, and then who knows if they're ready for it, if they think they're ready for it, and all the different factors that come in, to have them be who they need to be for their child.
Sometimes with kids, they have their own jargon, their own lingo. They have their technology that not all parents are up to speed on, and so I think sometimes it's real easy for kids when they want to shut down the conversation to just make their parents feel a little behind the times or a little stupid or a little silly. You don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And you find sometimes parents might react to that and maybe feel bad and then just kind of back off when maybe that's the time that they need to engage and be more involved with their child or stay involved.
Sure, and there's a lot of just with that and how the child will use that against their parents, and sometimes they're even testing the parent to what we were just talking about. Is they're testing the parent to see, one, what they can get away with, but also two, part of that is, are you going to let me get away with this? Are you going to show me that you really care? You say that you want to know what's going on in my life, but how willing and how far are you willing to go?
Do you find that kids sometimes push away while at the same time really wanting to draw the parent close? Like
Well,
it's almost
yeah.
like
Well, they're pushing them away and hoping that the parent doesn't
doesn't run away.
doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't get pushed away.
Yeah, yeah. Complicated thing.
And it's a balance because, sure, and there's a balance where you do have to give your child space, and that's part of the process. That's part of the, learning how to make it work.
That's something else too, right? Because a child does not go from a child to an adult instantly.
Mm.
It's just on a continuum, and so that is going to be different for each parent-child relationship, I would imagine. So
Sure. And every child is different, even, whether you have 2 or 3 kids, and they're different too. Different emotions, different feelings, different thoughts. And that makes the parents' job tougher as well.
Right, right. But that's good. So you're acting as that bridge almost.
Yeah, that's actually one of the how we describe it, bridging the gap, bridging the communication gap between parent and child.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you're reaching this way and reaching this way and bringing them together. That's outstanding work. If we wanted to find you in your work and your workshops, etc., online, how could we do that?
Thank you. Yeah, the name of the company is Vision Quest Coaching, and the website address is jimgrantcoaching.com, and that's Jim Grant Coaching altogether,
All one word.
.com.
Wonderful. Well, that's really helpful, Jim. I got a lot just from talking with you tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I hope our viewers do as well.
So for our community program of the week, we would like to feature the Children's Museum of Manhattan, otherwise known as CMOM. CMOM inspires children and families to learn about themselves and our culturally diverse world. And they focus on 4 priority areas to impact children, namely early childhood education, healthy living, creativity, and world cultures. These priorities are met through exhibitions, classes, workshops, performances, and museum-sponsored festivals, and their hours are up on your screen. These programs and exhibits address the multiple ways that children learn in our diverse world. We hope that you enjoy it and send us your experiences. We'd like to recommend Real Drum, and we're throwing up some screenshots and descriptions as we go along. And we're always talking about the need to be a little creative with our young people and the arts. Sometimes we don't have the instruments that we need or the programs in school. So Real Drum is a free application for Android. It simulates a real drum set on your mobile or your tablet screen, and you simply drum your fingers on the pads that are on the screen as we're showing you here. There are various percussive voices, over 23 different drum sounds, and they vary from the kick drum to the snare to the cymbals. There's quite a wide variety, and hopefully this could turn your children on to percussion, perhaps maybe even give them a sense of it before you actually go out and invest in music lessons or in the actual instruments. So please feel free to share with us on this one if you want to share the drum masterpieces of your little ones, provided they don't flatten or crack your mobile and tablet screens. We would love to hear them. So please share. Now, on to a bassoonist, Emily Bavona Maldonado. She will be playing for us Mozart. We hope you enjoy.